everyone, and welcome to today's live stream.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I hope it's running now. This is like our third attempt to start the stream, but I think it's working. And Hilly is already there. Hello, hello, welcome.
Good deal. We've got confirmation that other people are at least.
Yeah. All right. Oh, the awkward joys of live streams. Today we are gonna do another one of the 51 animation exercises. We're gonna animate a sneeze, and for that we will refer back to a model sheet that we started a while back for the main character of a little scene that we wanted to animate. And I figured as a little bit of like a research animation test, I think it would be nice to animate a little bit with her and then maybe bring back information and like ideas and realizations that we have during the animation process and put that back into the model sheet to optimize the model sheet for animation. Yeah. Wonderful. So, JK, you remember the project?
I do. It feels like it's been forever and a day, but it was a good one to start, and we still got to get back to it at some point. So I'm glad you're getting the chance to use the character at least a little bit.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to doing more with that world and that scene and those characters that we already put some time into. If you want, you can look up some previous live streams that we did where we started developing a little short film or scene of a film. And she is a farmer girl that is secretly working on her magic abilities. That's not that terribly important for this little animation test, but the purpose, I think, for this live stream is, on the one hand, to think a little bit how we can go about animating a sneeze. The other aspect, as I already mentioned, we're gonna see what we can learn from animating her and see what we can learn, what we might have to tweak about her. And obviously there's stuff like, this is only the front that I have here so far. I'm not even sure if that is the most recent file, to be honest, that I found here, but it looks like it. I could swear we already started with the 3/4 view, but apparently not. Oh, my cat is joining me. Hello there. Animating a sneeze. JK, how would you approach this?
That's a good question. So I think with a sneeze, one of the things that we always want to keep in mind is the anticipation, right? Because the act of the sneeze is almost irrelevant to the anticipation of the sneeze, because that's where you're really going to get the sneeze itself is probably a little more straightforward, right? And then the anticipation is where we can play with the character and we can think about what they're thinking about and things like that. So for me, nailing down that anticipation is going to be a key element. And then obviously you have to decide, as we talked about during the hit by a rock animation, how far in you want to go. How far do you want to take it? It can be a very short clip where you're really just focused on the sneeze itself, or you could turn it into a little story where you have something that actually causes the sneeze. Maybe in this case the character is doing some magic and a little trail of something goes past her nose and that causes her to sneeze. But it's just kind of a matter of how far you want to take it. I think also with this character, it's going to be a lot of fun to play with the hair and some overlapping action, because there's a lot of room for creativity there, if you want to take it that way. Obviously it's just sky's the limit right now, and so that's the tricky part of those early thumbnails.
Yes, indeed. I also think like I think with the anticipation, you're right on track there. I feel like this is one of the one of those motions where the anticipation is almost the most important thing of the entire thing, and you can kind of tell what motion it is just by the anticipation.
Yep.
So like there are a couple others, like if somebody's throwing a ball, for example, and you have the anticipation of the ball being behind their head, then you can kind of already tell what is happening next. Hey, someone from the Film Academy is here. Welcome,
Nice.
welcome. So nice to see people still after all these years.
So one thing I would be interested to know from you, Ferdinand, because I was recently trying to work on learning some Procreate Dream, and I realized that I almost always start with timing charts more than I start. I mean, not necessarily. It's more like alongside the thumbnails, I always use timing charts, and I don't know if that's just my history of traditional animation. Do you ever jump into some timing charts, or do you do it more by feel?
Oh, interesting question. I mean, last time we kind of didn't really get that far. Usually, the point where I start timing charts is when I have all the poses for the storytelling poses, the breakdowns, and the extremes, anticipations and overshoots. And usually, I then start making the timing charts. How do you that? How do you do that? When in the
I mean,
process?
it's been so long, and I never really analyzed it because it's just so part of my workflow. But as I was doing the bouncing ball, I realized, oh, I actually do the timing charts really early. And the fact that the last live stream that you were doing, we didn't even, I don't, like you said, I don't think we even got to timing charts. It was
Yeah.
interesting to see that difference of where it comes in. And I don't even know, like, if in modern day animation, do they even bother with timing charts anymore? Because it feels like a thing of the past, but I still enjoy them.
Yeah, me too. I personally also do them for 3D animation, but that might just be a 2D animation, a 2D animator a habit kind of thing. Because I think it's so much better than guessing. I feel like if I do 3D animation without timing charts, it's all a bit more like, okay, I put something there and then I change it again and then I change it again and again and again. And I mean, you still tweak your timing after you've done it from a timing chart or from an X sheet. But I feel like I spent less time if I actually thought about the what is going to happen essentially on every other frame, because if you have a timing chart on twos, you kind of know what's happening on every single frame and why every single frame is there, and that gives me some kind of security. And my cat is on my drawing tablet. Rainbow, how am I going to do this? Oh, she's right out of frame. There she is.
I always find the right spot.
Yeah. There was a scary thunder and lightning, and when I came home, I couldn't find her, and she probably was fleeing from the thunder and the lightning, and I found her sleeping under the bed, where she usually never sleeps.
Ah, okay.
Alright, okay, so her head is a lot wider than I thought. Something like this, maybe? So I kinda also have to like rediscover whatever I was thinking back when we designed her.
Yep.
I still love this nose. I think there's a lot that can be done with the facial expression, even if we don't take the features that wide. I think just by like having the eyes different and the eyebrows different. I also feel like there's a whole set of exercises in animation, of challenges in animation, that all kind of have the same challenge to it. Like if you animate someone yawning or someone sneezing, about to sneeze, this open mouth position, I think it's really tricky, because sometimes it can just look like they're just opening their mouth, but you know, it's more. There's like tension there, and it's, yeah, I feel like it's difficult to get it just right.
Yep, for sure.
Shoo.
I think the bottom of the mouth is really going to play a key part, because when I'm also trying it out and imagining it in my head, there's that kind of quiver of the lip almost, you know, where you're like
Yeah.
sucking in air. So that might be a key element that changes the. It's just a subtle thing, but it makes a big difference.
I also think like a nose wrinkle could be kind of interesting.
Another element, because the out of the sneeze may be a little more straightforward. You can also, just general on, I don't mean you specifically, Ferdinand, but you can start there, right? And then you can look for the contrast backwards into the anticipation. So sometimes it helps to bounce around a little bit, where if you're struggling with a particular expression or pose or whatever, go ahead of the game to where it's going to end up, and then you'll be able to say, okay, well, here the mouth is this way, so I want to create a contrast by having it opposite in the initial.
Oh, yeah. That's a really valuable tip, I think, that you don't have to go through your animation chronologically. Just start with whatever pose comes easier to you, and then go from there. Sometimes it's easier to construct the other poses from there. Okay. Something like this, maybe. And then, of course, we could also do this a little more systematically. Like if I say, like, okay, I kind of like how the mouth is and the nose and the tilt of the head, but maybe I want to experiment with the eyes some more. Sometimes it can be good to just copy the. If I figure out how that worked in concept.
You had it before, I think. But
Yeah. Selection. Looks like I can only select single lines. It's like a select brush, which is kind of cool, but how do I select everything? Control A? Okay, that gives me every layer. But, oh yeah, I can't put them on separate layers. Am I doing something wrong? How can I not figure out the select
you did it
tool?
really easily last time. Once again, the joys of live streaming. While you're doing that, I will continue on with what you were saying, and you can keep fussing with it. One really important thing to keep in mind is that during this thumbnail stage, that's when you really want to, you found it. That's when you really want to utilize this idea of like copying and pasting. It's a lot less valuable, I guess, at least in my opinion, when you're doing the actual animation, because then you lose some of the life of redrawing something over and over again. So really good to copy and paste during thumbnail stage so you can keep that life and just change little details. But while you're animating, it really pays to go back, and even if it's almost a direct trace, it'll keep a lot of the life if you redraw it. I see a lot of 2D animators these days try to take that shortcut by not doing the whole drawing over. And I understand it takes forever, but it can really, really make the animation a lot better if you do the whole drawing again. But this is the perfect time for copy and paste, so you can just try little things that are different, because redrawing it in thumbnail mode would be a lot.
Yes, indeed. Very, very good tip. I think it also, like, I would definitely say that that is a hard rule for at least the key poses.
Yeah.
If you copy some in-betweens, it might still be visible, but you get away with it easier. And yeah, but generally, if you want to go, especially if you want to go like for this Disney fluent lively look, then redrawing is really good. And also, by not tracing, to really think about, the three-dimensionality. Like, even if you're like, let's say we simplify the head as a cube, and we have like the ear in the middle of that side plane. If you just tilt the character slightly to the front, and that might be a minor change in perspective, but it can add so much more of like a three-dimensionality if you have like little 3D rotations like this. And you lose that if you just trace this image. You don't have 3D rotation going on.
Absolutely. Those are the little things that I think people wonder, why does this animation just really sing or whatever? I think that's a lot of it, those little tiny extras. I'm going to show this little drawing that I did. It didn't work, but I had an idea of what would happen if we went the opposite direction and opened the eyes all the way on the anticipation. Again, didn't work, but I figure why not show it. She definitely looks more freaked out, but it was just something that popped into my head, and that's the beauty of thumbnails, right? You get to just try stuff, and then it's like, oh, yeah, that didn't work. Okay, on to the next. So, something to keep in mind.
Yeah. I do like that idea, though, like to have like a really goofy eye opening, because she definitely needs to close the eyes during the actual sneeze. So I think if we could keep at least one eye open, I think that could be quite funny. I think I also like these eyebrow tilts more, because they're more like, like this, just wobbly, and those look like it's a controlled facial expression, which I don't think I want to have for that moment. I just want it to be a little bit like, oh.
That's fair.
All right. I think we can take that for now. My cat is back on the drawing tablet. You little tiger. Giving us a slow blink, a sign of love. Yeah. Okay, so obviously, like, if we just take the you think about the shoulder area, it will be something like this, where we just cut it off below the shoulders. And we have a line of action that is going like this. So for the actual sneeze, we will probably want to go in the opposite direction. Let's go back to the model sheet. Okay, let's see. So we could take some hints from the model sheet. Like generally, if you do thumbnails, you might not want to do that. Yeah, maybe we should look at that later, and be not that precise for now. I could also draw a little bit smaller, because generally, if I do thumbnails digitally, I often feel like I'm making the thumbnails too large, which kinda tempts you to already do details.
It's true.
Oh, there we go. Push the cat aside. Oh, now the cat is at the mouse. That's also not... No. Okay. And this is also a fun one. We could also... So we definitely need to close the eyes. The lips could come out. I don't know. Maybe. Her chin is always pointier than I would estimate, and her face is always wider. So let's at least try to keep that the same. And then of course we can see more of the top of her head. That I think that's going to be an important characteristic of her perspective here. So we would see more of the hair. And then we kind of have the hair tuft pointing backwards.
One thing that you could do, and again, this is probably not a good idea, but it's an idea. If you had the back of the hair tufts kind of pop out as the sneeze is happening, like a splat, that would be a very cartoony kind of thing to do. I don't know if it's right for this particular scene, but that was just something that was kind of also in my head as you were drawing.
You mean to like fan them out?
Yeah. Let's see if I can.
We could also go into like a side view. If most of the animation is happening in 3/4. Could maybe do something like that. Because then she could also be like turning away, you know, because you don't want to sneeze at people, so you might be turning to the side.
That's true.
Let's see what we could do if her mouth stays inside.
I think she only has 3 back hair tufts, right?
Yes.
Alright, well then I accidentally added 4, but I'll at least show what I was thinking. It's like everything.
Flying to the side. Ah, that's fun.
Again, might not be right for this one, but as a thumbnail, I'm trying to contribute a little bit.
Yeah, you gotta try. That's the thing with thumbnails.
And you don't know where, like
yeah,
later, it might come in handy for something that's totally different.
exactly. And this is why this is also part like of the research and development phase for the entire project, because by doing one animation, you are getting to know your character more.
Definitely.
Right. So I like this one more so far. It looks a lot more on model. But I guess it's also not as exaggerated as it could be.
I think if you finish it out with the model and then try and combine a little bit of what you have in the one right to the right of it, because that one is definitely, I think, the most expressive of anything so far. Like it really nails it in such a simplified way.
Yeah. I like this one though. Yeah. So let's experiment more with this one that we just did, but push it. Maybe push the mouth. There we go. So let's see.
Well, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, maybe. We have to see it side by side, I think. I should do one. And then see how we actually... It's also like, you know, if we do something like this, it becomes more of like this Disney cartoon style from like the 80s, where you have like, you know, everything is coming out with these extra lines that give you like a hose or something around things. But maybe for our style, it's more like more pointy, maybe? Like, maybe.
Close.
Well, let's do more.
That's what the trick. What if you just took straight up the one thumbnail all the way to the right there, and you just put that exact mouth on, just to see what it looks like?
I could, yeah.
That one looks like a Simpsons. All of a sudden.
Yeah. See, she has such a small mouth. Okay, I'm already erasing far too much for thumbnails. Usually it's a better idea to do one, leave it like that, and then do the next one.
Abandon quickly. And then move on if you have to, but at least then it'll be there for future reference.
And that's the other cool thing about doing this in the R&D phase. Like, as you said before, we might do scribbles where we're like, that's not what we will end up using for this specific animation, but we might end up using it as a general reference for whenever we have a pose where this could fit.
Yep.
Yeah. What is going on there? To erase more because the other one has the nose in it as well. Nope, I did not copy.
Different layer, maybe.
There we go. Oh, copied a bunch of things. Just give me that one. That's
Fighting you now.
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I can't do selections in concept.
There we go.
Oh, I think that could work. I actually think that this could work. How do I do rotations? Up here? I like it.
It gives you a lot of contrast from the original. And it really gives that life of, this is very immediate, you know what I mean? Like the other ones feel almost in between where you want to end, but this one is like nailed.
Yeah, it's definitely the end. She can't push her mouth out any further. Yeah, I think that's the clear winner. Okay. Nice. And then the other pose could be the start pose. So if we have a lean back and then a lean forward, the start pose could either lean a little bit forward or a little bit back. So let's see. And the question is, what is she doing before the animation?
That is the question. I was just going to say, this is where kind of thinking about a little bit of the story or where this is taking place can really help. Because, and also kind of the immediacy of the sneeze, right? Anybody who's ever sneezed knows that sometimes you could feel it coming on and sometimes it just hits you. So is this a moment where the sneeze just happens super quick? Or is this more of a, oh, it's coming, hang on 1 second, oh, and then you sneeze. I think as far as an animation exercise goes, especially early on, just as a general tip, keep it simple, right? Like, let it be a more immediate sneeze, and then if you want to redo a second version, that's when you can really add in all of the crazy anticipation. But when you're doing exercises, you want to just nail them really well, and sometimes that helps to keep them short in that case. It's not always as much fun as doing the crazy stuff, but you'll improve your skills a lot if you work on keeping them snappy and then really nailing it. That's a nice pose. That's a nice expression in general. Like, that's just very pleasant, super appealing.
Thank you. Yeah, I was thinking like something like watching the turnip sheep, being not really engaged.
Yeah,
but just like fair. No sheep is getting away. Good. And then, you know, it's also a question of the style in general. Like, how do I, like, those are things that we haven't decided yet. How do we half close her eyes? Like, we could do that shape, that shape that we see in the model sheet there, and add an upper eyelid. That would be one way of doing it. Another way would be to squeeze the entire shape and not really have an eyelid, or maybe just put a line above. Like, those things are not decided yet.
Yep. Someone in the chat is from Peru and asked if possibly you can do a Spanish language subtitles. So I don't know how doable that is. And I will be momentarily back. I'm getting a phone call. Real quick. Be right back.
Spanish subtitles. Do you have a specific video that you would like Spanish subtitles for? Because I have to admit, my Spanish, I had Spanish in school, but it's not that good. I do want to work on it, but it's certainly not good enough that I can translate a whole video without any help. Fortunately, you know, there's all this AI stuff nowadays, so maybe I could look into AI translations. I do like the lean forward more. I think that's the winner. Oh wow, so many cool people here. Darren T, hello. Yashvi, welcome. Nice to see you all. Yeah, if any of you has any questions, just let me know and I'll try to talk about them. So really liking this pose, so let's work on a variation of that one. And see what we can do here. Make her even more bored, maybe. Yeah, I think it's going to be something like that. So let's see where her part is in the hair. It's kind of here, halfway on that side of the face. And then we have this tuft starting slightly above the ear. And then this second one is smaller. Not quite happy with the chin here. But I do like the super bored face. That's quite nice. Hi Konstantinos, welcome. And then let's open her jacket so we can see more of her face. Yeah, so I think this is going to be it. Now we have a very good plan. So we're gonna start with this pose. Then we're going into the anticipation, which I think we decided on the wobbly silly eyes here. And then we go to this one. Hey Daniel, Konstantinos, this is Concepts, a really cool app for concept art. Canvas is infinite to all sides of the screen, which is really cool. So you can just keep going and exploring your designs, trying different things. I really like this for thumbnailing and making rough plans. Shashvi is asking, how can I create a sequence of drawings such as expressions and movements to achieve smooth animations? Well, pretty much exactly how we are working right now. We are doing a pose-to-pose approach right now. So if you look up the 12 principles of animation, pose-to-pose is a method of working where you jump from one pose that you define to the next pose that you define. And yeah, that's kind of what we're doing here. We're defining different poses. And then we will fill in more and more images until we have a smooth animation. And yeah, let's see how much of that we can get done in this live stream. We now have a plan. And now we need to start putting that plan in action. And once again, we will be using Clip Studio Paint. I'm going to create a new animation. Let's see, where should we save this? I'm working on Windows. But Concepts is actually available for iOS and for Android. And Clip Studio Paint, I think, runs on Android as well, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, let's put in a new folder for our references. Let's see if that works. Put, oh, I guess pasting didn't work, did it? Let's copy this and paste it into Clip Studio Paint. Ah, there we have it. And now we can put that in the background as a reference. This is going to be our reference folder, so references. And we also need the model sheet. So let's make a new animation folder for that one actually, because we might want to show the model sheet different from the rest of the references. In fact, we want to show the model sheet or reference the model sheet for almost all of the drawings that we have. So let's go in Clip Studio Paint and there we go. We just need the upper half of her. Oh, we don't want to have that tooltip there. And maybe it's also good to see her hands, her arms, to see how thick her arms are, because they're not that thick. And there we go.
Well, I've returned for one moment just to say goodbye because I got a call from the dentist. I have to get a root canal, so I have to go deal with some medical stuff for a bit.
Ah, all
Always
right.
fun. But
Good
thanks
luck with
for
that.
letting me hang out. And I think you got a couple questions in the chat there. I don't know if you saw them, but anyway,
Yeah,
um,
wonderful.
I'll
Thanks for
catch you
joining
guys next
us.
time. Yeah, for sure. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye
See
bye.
you
See you
later.
next time.
Bye.
Wonderful, wonderful. Ah, I really enjoy these streams together. It's I mean, I also like to talk to chat, but it's also cool if, there's somebody else in the room that you can actually talk to. All right. Philip asks, how long have you been working on this character? I remember seeing one of your streams some months ago and it was the same character. Yeah, exactly. And that was the last time I worked on this character, unfortunately. So the character exists for longer, but I've not been actively working on it, unfortunately. And this is actually the first time that I draw her since that live stream. Okay, let's make sure we have some room over her head to really lean back. There we go. And then we're just going to keep this in the background as a reference and make it transparent so we can see it, but it doesn't annoy us. This is Clip Studio Paint. I haven't tried Krita in a while. I wonder how they have evolved. I really wanted to have another look at it. Okay, so this is our first pose of the sneeze. Let's pull up our reference, put it a little bit bigger to the side right here. And yeah, with all of this reference, it sometimes can end up a little bit stiff because we might go more into tracing mode. If I'm now starting to draw over the model sheet that has its pros and cons. So animation folder is at the top here. I do want to work with vector lines because I just like how you can tweak them a little bit better and copy individual lines and stuff. I really like that about vector lines rather than bitmap lines, which is one of the main reasons why I use Clip Studio Paint these days, because they have very excellent vector lines, and I like them a little bit more than some of the other software. So we need to shift her head a little bit to the side. Let's get a black line here. So I think the cheek would be coming out. Then we're going straight for the chin. And then we have the ear coming in here. So I kind of like to just go for a very kind of almost like, you have straight lines up and down. Maybe we could make these lines completely straight too. Is a little bit like of the Powerpuff Girls style or something like that, where you would have these, in reality, lines always kind of curve and bend a little bit, but in animation we can kind of exaggerate them a little, and squeeze them straight, much straighter than they would be in like an organic shape. Yeah, stability was also one of the points why I am switching more to Clip Studio Paint these days. Philip says, I use Krita and it's cool, but the animation feature can get buggy and not play the frames right for some reason. Yeah. It's crazy how like some animation tools cannot like fluently play animation. That's like really annoying. That's like the most basic thing that they need to get right. I know that in Clip Studio Paint there are a couple options that you kind of have to do. I think we overshot it a little bit with the chin. So let's redo the whole chin area. Okay. So the point is kind of like here. And she has those really small eyebrows. I kind of overdid that a little bit. I think I like them to be a little bit smaller. Okay, so the part would travel over to here, and this would travel over down there. And then the big poof of hair would be kind of the same. Just a little bit shifted over. Okay. All right, to now really get into that lean. As you can see, we traced a lot from the model sheet. But here's a part that I really like. I usually like tracing from model sheets for like a starting point. If we want to have a pose that should be really on model, and this pose should be really on model because it's the first pose of the whole clip. And now I would go a little bit more into the pose that is required with her being leaned forward. And now you can see that we are getting away from the model sheet. Good tip from Darren T to try Tahoma 2D. It's basically OpenToonz with extra features and is more stable for some users. Yeah, it's definitely worth a try. I really also like how they like simplified a lot of the concepts that are a little bit harder to understand and grasp in the vanilla OpenToonz. They did an excellent job in having an interface that is a bit more beginner friendly and communicates more how the software could be used. So yeah, I've heard of a lot of people who switched to Tahoma. Maybe her eyebrows should also have like a thickness. At the moment they don't really have that. They don't really have a shape, but maybe that could work. I'm also unsure of how much of a cheek she actually has. Maybe it is really, really subtle. So let's try that. Yeah, and then we could be a little bit more asymmetric with her mouth. Like we could try to pull the mouth even further back, even further in front. further down, further up. I think I pretty much liked it how we already had it, though. And maybe we need to smooth out that curve a little bit more. Yeah, and I think this could work quite well. Already. Wonderful. So let's take the shape of her chest that we have here in the model sheet, and obviously now we're going to see a little bit more of the side. We're gonna have that ball that connects as her shoulder right here, and here it kind of vanishes on the other side. And then we have this huge collar of her jacket, and we kind of need to really think about, be very careful with where we place this, because we don't want to place this on the hair tuft where it has like a tangent and everything gets a little bit muddy. So we kinda want either this to be here or to be here, clearly over it. So I think we could do something like this. And then we're gonna open the collar by placing this V shape along with the center of her body. Something like this. Now sometimes it might be good to look at that whole stuff, all of that stuff without the all the layers on. Maybe we need to make a collar a bit smaller also compared to what it is on the model sheet right now. So we have, we can show this side plane here more clearly, because if we do this, we kind of lose the hint that there's an actual side here. So let's try maybe this. And then just have her arm drop straight down. Maybe smoothing that out a little bit. Okay, I think that looks pretty good for a first pose and for a character that I haven't drawn much at all yet. So let's see what else is going on in the chat. Darren T confirmed that there is a Mac and a Linux version of Tahoma. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think OpenTunes itself doesn't have a Mac version. It has to be like compiled, and there are some people that do that. But yeah, good to know that the Tahoma already comes pre-compiled for Mac. That's pretty cool. What are best practices for designing dynamic and engaging backgrounds in animation? Do you mean like backgrounds that actually move, or do you mean backgrounds that just look very dynamic and interesting, and like a whole composition that looks very interesting. Or maybe it doesn't have, OpenToonz doesn't have a Linux version or something like this. Like one of the versions was missing, at least last time I looked. But great if that is a possibility. I'm doing a couple programming jobs at the moment and working on Linux a lot on Ubuntu. So it's always good that there is some creative software too for the Linux users. Okay, let's see. The problem is also always, like, depending on certain graphic cards or onboard graphic chips, that's always going to be a problem with OpenToonz, unfortunately. Because, well, a lot of the time graphic software is heavily relying on certain graphic card functions, and that can sometimes, unfortunately, sometimes the answer can be it just doesn't run with that exact machine setup. Reinstalling drivers is always a good thing to do, or looking if your graphic card driver is up to date. Like that sometimes can make a huge difference. Okay, let's get rid of the line here. Perfect. This is gonna be so difficult with the hair tuft. I sometimes feel like it just looks weird, and sometimes it looks awesome that it is that big. Definitely need to have a lot more experiments with that hair tuft. But yeah, for now we can keep it like that. I mean, it's kind of cool that we already have Blender on Linux. So like 3D is covered very well. OpenToonz covers 2D. Blender covers 2D as well. Clip Studio Paint should actually run in Linux too, because if it runs on Android, is there a Linux build? Clip Studio Paint. Let's see. How to install Clip Studio Paint on Linux. There seem to be tutorials for this. Oh, through Wine. Okay, through an emulator. Yeah, okay. But that is probably more trouble than it's worth. But I mean, if it runs on Android. Alright, so we got the first post covered. We can move on to the next one. But before we do that, I want to tell you about our group mentoring over at the Patreon page, where you can support us just in general. If you think that the stuff that we're doing is worth supporting, then you can head on over to patreon.com/animatorisland, and you can either just support us there or join in the group mentoring tier. And the group mentoring tier is an awesome monthly meeting where you can bring whatever you're currently working on. That could be a character design, could be an animation, could be just the idea for a short film, and I will give you my feedback, my tips and tricks, will tell you how you could improve it, how you can build your skills in general every single month. That is the group mentoring tier over on Patreon. You can read a little bit more about it on animatorisland.com/group mentoring. And yeah, it's just really awesome to connect every single month and keep working on projects together and keep tweaking animations until they are the best that they can be. Especially if you feel like you need another way to commit to actually finishing your animation. Regular appointments like this mentoring appointments can be very helpful in, yeah, keep working at it until you have the best animation that it could possibly be. So yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, please check it out on animatorisland.com/group mentoring or directly on patreon.com/animatorisland. Yeah, I'm gonna continue with more poses in just a little bit, but before we're gonna have a little break. I'm gonna put on some music. Now that JK is no longer in the chat, we can actually do that without an echo, I think. So let's see how that works. With my voice meter banana. Audio routing is always a pretty complicated thing. And we can put on some music for the break. Wonderful. Yeah, so I'll be right back. See you after the break. Right, so we are back, and if I manage to do it correctly, you should also be able to hear me again. Yeah, that looks good. Live audio mixing. There are a couple of questions. Let's see. As an animator, what are your thoughts on ToonSquid? I have to confess, I haven't tried it yet. And I think out of all of the... it's a mobile software, right? Out of all of it, what I've heard about ToonSquid the least, I think. Really have to... I need to discover more what's going on mobile, because I think it's such a wonderful thing to be able to draw something or try something real quick on the go. And I really need to overcome my tie to the desktop, I think, just to, you know, discover what other tools are out there. Because I think especially for like concept arts or like quick little tests, I think tablets could probably be really nice. I still have to try it. Yeah, and then Procreate Dreams, of course, is that hyped animation software that everybody's using now. JK is giving it a try right now. I'm looking forward to hearing what he thinks about it. I like your headphones. Those are like a while back, when I was still studying at the Film Academy, that was really a while back, I asked the people from like the sound department, the sound and music department, like what headphones should I buy? And they recommended these Superlux headphones. They were just like $15 or something, but they say like for under 50 euros, this is like the best that you can get at the moment. Not sure if that still is the case, but since then, if I needed new headphones, I always got these, and I'm happy with them. So yeah, they're certainly good enough. All right. Oh, the break message should probably go away. We're no longer on break. We're working hard here. No break. No break for us. So, let's get back to work. Okay, so for the second pose, we can reference our wonderful sheet. And get this image and pop it into Clip Studio Paint. Oh, there was another comment that I wanted to talk about, because I have to apologize to the wine enthusiasts and users. Where is it? Chat, come on. Philip says wine stands for wine is not an emulator. So sorry. I have to say I know very little about how these kinds of cross-platform things work, and I have heard that there has been a lot of development to run stuff more natively and closer to the actual hardware, which is really cool. So take it with a grain of salt if I say anything about running Windows software on Linux. I heard that it has gotten a lot better with games also, and I haven't tried that yet, but maybe I should, because I do have a couple Linux machines. Yeah, and I'm actually doing a lot with like Docker on Ubuntu, so I know that there's more stuff than emulation and virtual machines. Oh my god, like my first tries to get something run in Linux, Windows software run in Linux, was always in virtual machines. They were so slow. Alrighty. Illy says, all I know about wine is that it's a pain. But yeah, that's my last impression, but my last impression is like, I don't know, however many years. More than 10 years, is that even possible? Did it exist for that long? Alrighty, so let's go to our reference layer, go to the second frame and paste. And no, not in here, in here. References, take this. If I transform this, will this only transform this frame? I hope so. Yes, it's only that frame. Okay. All right. So we could think about giving this a little bit more of three-dimensionality by pulling her more into frontal pose. So something that is closer to the model sheet that we started on. We would change the thumbnail if we did that, but I think it's worth a shot. Let's try it. Let's create a new drawing. So here. And oh. What's going on? Why can't I draw? What am I doing wrong? Huh. What's going on here? But this is... Oh, we had the transparent swatch selected. That must have been a keyboard shortcut that I don't know. All right. Frame rate. That's a very interesting question, Konstantinos. So 60 frames per second you usually use for things that the computer can generate for you. So if you have like something interactive running, you could use a frame rate of 60 frames per second, or but you still might have the timeline set to not 60 frames per second, but something like 24 frames per second. For purposes of like film animation, most of the time people use 24 frames per second because it's the cinema frame rate. And that's, to my knowledge, that's also what they use at like the timeline in the animation software at Disney or Pixar, to my knowledge, is set to 24 frames per second. And yeah, one of the reasons is exactly the animating on 2s and 3s thing, because it's much easier to, or like everybody's used to these kind of patterns and rhythms. There are a couple of tries where people actually did animate on higher frame rates in 2D animation. Like I think Glenn Keane made a short film at some point where he actually drew 60 frames per second, which is like insane. And then, you know, of course, the old Disney shorts, like from the golden age of animation, there was a lot of 24 frames per second stuff where they didn't animate on 2s. Hilly's using Ubuntu for games, making games. Yeah, that's like, whenever you go like in the direction of programming, I think Linux is a really, really safe bet and like a lot of developing environments do run on Linux very well, if not the best. Yeah, exactly. If you set the frame rate to 60 frames per second, because you show 60 frames in 1 second, it will be a lot faster, and it will look very smooth. Like if you manage to fill all these 60 frames with something, it does look very smooth. But it's also a lot more work if you actually draw everything in 60 frames per second. In 3D animation, you can also later change the frame rate. Like, you know, you can convert your frame rate from 24 frames per second to 60 frames per second. So your timing is the same. You still, you know, what you used to be placing as a second away on your timeline, you can convert your project so that it's still happening in a second. It's just interpolated with 60 frames per second. Like that is how it is often done in games. At least the games that I worked on, we didn't have the timeline set to 60 frames per second, but the game later was in whatever frame rate the people's computer could support. But for the timing, I was still always working on 24 frames per second. Okay. So, same thing here. We did trace. We did trace the head. Oh, I should probably also know where her hair ends. And this could actually be a little bit of a problem. Something fell. What's going on, Rainbow? My cat pushed something down, as cats do. So we're going to see one of the tricky things about tracing things from the model sheet. So an opportunity that we lost a little bit is to show the underside of her chin. Like we kind of didn't tilt the head like actually upwards in 3D perspective because she was just looking fully frontal into the camera in the model sheet. So if we want to have a more interesting perspective, we still have to work on that. But I think maybe let's check out the onion skin for a second here. I think we can still tweak our perspective a little bit. And the way we do that is by shifting her hairline down and showing a little bit of its chin underside. We can give it the impression that we're actually looking under her chin, but this of course is one of the more difficult to pull off poses. I think her neck is relatively small. So let's see what we can, how we can make this work. This is one of the reasons why I want to do test animations like this, because we need to figure out how it actually could look like to see the underside of that character's chin. And it's a little bit tricky if you don't have a real neck connection, because, you know, for her it's like basically she just has like this little stump where, you know, real people have like a whole like connection, and that could look really weird. Let's get a good eraser here. A little bit bigger. Do you watch your cat for animation tips? Yeah, sometimes. It's really cool how... What I like about cats is... well, I guess with animals in general, you know, you really have to learn to read their body language and how they express certain things, like boredom and playfulness and all this good stuff. And I think it's really good to learn how to do pantomime. Okay, not sure. Not entirely sure about that chin underside, but you know, those kinds of poses, they tend to look a little bit weird all the time. Sometimes you can make it better by just erasing lines and just see what is the bare minimum to tell that we see the underside of her chin. Maybe like this. I think I did like the eyes looking off to the side a little bit more. Really making clear that she's not looking at anything in particular. And of course, flipping through. I always love flipping through my drawings more than looking at onion skin. Yeah, I think that's quite nice. We did good, people! We did good. Hi Eidolon, by the way, nice to see you. Konstantinos asks, asking for a helpful pointer from you. When I do practice animations, do I first sketch out the form, then make a refined line art on a new layer, and then a more refined line art for each frame? So the details of this are up to you, whatever you need to find your shapes and define three-dimensionality, keep your model consistent, make sure that, you know, the anatomy is correct and stuff like this. And it's basically whatever works is good enough. Most animators, a lot of animators, especially if you have characters where anatomy is important, what you would do is you would have a model sheet like the one that we have here, and as you can see in the model sheet, we do have certain shapes that in the model sheet it shows you how they are constructed. Like a quick refresher for what we did for this model sheet is there's a lot of stuff that you can look up in the model sheet. For example, the size of her head. There are certain guidelines that help us to always construct the same character. Like we have like this big volume of her head, which is repeated all over the character. So this would be the same size, and this would be the same size, and fractions of that circle always give you more information. So if you have like half of this and then you have half of that circle, this is the end of her chest shape, and another quarter is the collarbone. So from this we can construct her chest shape and stuff like that. So a lot of animators, they would have one layer where they do all of this construction, and then, you know, when you have a shape like this for like her chest, you can pull that chest out and manipulate that in 3D and do all kinds of things with that. So this would be like for me, this would be kind of like one of the sketch layers for poses, mainly for storytelling poses. And then when I do the actual animation, I would do a tie down first. Yeah, like Hilly mentions, I would do like a. So what would I have? So very often I have like a mix of like parts that I don't feel confident just freehanding. I would have these 3D shapes, and things that I feel more confident with, like maybe I have an arm of a character that I feel like I can construct without doing the actual anatomy shapes, or like the hand. You know, maybe I've drawn that character's hand so many times that I feel like I can do it freehand. Or very often the face, I would have like a sketch that I would do, and maybe not construct it. Like I would have a mix of like carefully constructed shapes and maybe not so carefully constructed shapes in my drawing. And I would animate it all like this, a little bit messy, like some things are exactly constructed, the other things not so much. And then I would do a second tie down phase, usually on an extra layer, especially for high quality projects. If it's not a high quality, lots of time project, I might try to do my cleanup from just this pass. But if it's like, you know, if the animation has like a bigger budget, I will go in and then do a tie down, which is another scribble, another sketch layer. So not the final line art, I would create another layer, and then I would do two things. The things that I freehanded, like the face in this case, I would probably put the model sheet under it to construct it even better, and to do the tie down to the model, and, you know, correct the position of the ears, correct the position of the nose, correct the size of the eyes. And for the parts that I did construct carefully, I'll be like, can I make this even more dynamically? How would it look if I actually went in with a swoop? Do I still get away with that? Like, because, you know, those constructed shapes can sometimes look a little bit stiff. So it would be this weird mix where some parts I try to be more on model and more carefully constructing, and the parts that I already have carefully constructed, I would see like, how can I get them a little bit more dynamic? Does that help? Does that answer your question? So let's kick out this layer. Finish this one real quick. Okay, this is getting a little bit messy. You know what? Let's actually try this one with flipping instead of onion skin. So The collar, I think, is really gonna sell the 3D 3D aspect here. Maybe we do have to make her angles a little bit softer in the shoulders, because I do like the sharpness in her shapes, but we always have to battle to not make her too masculine. I still want her to be quite delicate and feminine. So sometimes I might lean back into the round shapes. Yeah, sure. Always happy to answer any questions that you might have. You know what? We can push the whole pose a little more to the right. Yeah, I'm liking that one a lot. Philip is asking, will this shot have voice acting? I feel like we need a really cute sneeze. Like, I feel like her sneeze would be like a chew, like a very that would be awesome if we could find the perfect sneeze for her. We don't have a voice actress for her or voice actor for her yet, so not sure where to get that sneeze from. But yeah, that would be really cute. Because I picture her sneeze to be really cute. And to really have like a ha ha choo. Is going on with my phone? It's buzzing. Is there something important? No. Doesn't look like it. Okay, so next we need the third pose. Fortunately, we already did a scribble that we can use. So as you can see, I'm doing them all like one after the other. This is like how most pose-to-pose animators work. They don't worry about timing yet. We do pose 1 on frame 1, pose 2 on frame 2, and now we go to frame 3 to place pose 3 into it. And we're gonna do all like, we're gonna add more poses gradually, but we're not going to worry about timing yet. So, what was I doing? Reference layer over here gets this drawing here. Boom. Where did it go? There. it did go. Okay. No, not undo. Not undo, but instead do. And here we have an empty drawing. New animation cell. There we go. Oh, that's how I got the empty selection. I right-clicked into nothing, and this gave us a transparent color swatch. So we don't want to... Does it actually... If I do a transparent vector line, is there actually a line there that I can click? Yes! Ooh, invisible lines, okay. That is good for filling. I'm working on a comic project right now where I might need some invisible lines to close line work. So that is good to know. Okay. But yeah, let's actually just use our black line. Yeah, I'm just playing all music that I have, all royalty-free music that I ever got for any projects, and I have the rights to use on stream. Okay. You know what? Let's actually try to do that with just flipping. Ooh, there's a lot of thunder outside. I'm not sure if you can hear that, but oh my god, is it thundering outside. Is my cat still here? Maybe she's back under the bed. Okay, so later we kind of have to check all the volumes. Oh my god, how did I manage to do this? Okay, yeah, you guys can always tell me if the music is too loud or if if the track is annoying. I have a couple weird cartoony tracks in there that I sometimes have to skip because the mood is not always right for super cartoony. Okay. Okay. Now here we would see more of the top of her head than we usually do. And her hair will be all blown back. the neck is always further in than you might think. Maybe we could see the top of her shoulders if she's leaning. Start the top of that chest shape. Okay, I think that's enough for the reference. We need to actually place her in a way that makes sense. And as you can see, she kind of needs to be a little bit bigger. Maybe something like that. Oh yeah, tie downs. If you've never heard about it, definitely look it up. There is like Sergio Pablos who does awesome tie downs. He animated Dr. Doppler on Treasure Planet. There are a couple of animation tests on YouTube where you can see tie downs in action. And the whole like Klaus, this Christmas movie that looks so awesome, that is also Sergio Pablos. Yeah, I think this is working quite good. Let's see how we can... Maybe we could look into her turtleneck. That's another thing. I've never defined that she's actually actually wearing a turtleneck, but it just felt right after she already has like this big coat. Do the shoulders actually come up when you sneeze? Like, achoo! Achoo! Like, I wonder if the shoulders could be pulled up. Or if we want to really put them down, to, if she really leans forward, achoo, then they would. Achoo. I feel like it could go both. It could go both ways. It could be like, achoo, and then you have the is the one where the shoulders go up, and then you have achoo, the one where it all comes down, or you go like achoo. And you have like this like compression. Not sure which one I prefer. So if it would be choo or choo. The more freeing would probably be to get the shoulders down. But then in contrast, we need to get the shoulders up in this one. So we could do it like this. Actually pull the shoulders up. see how that... I like that contrast from before. So... I did like that. Or we put them up here. I mean, that could work too. Yeah. Choo. 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 All right. Constantinos asks, when I want to do a turnaround or just test animate a character, is a character sheet with reference grid lines recommended? Yes. I would really, really recommend doing a model sheet like this. Obviously, when I clean up this model sheet, there will be less stuff visible, but to know how tall your character is in head sizes and, you know, when do you have to, like, cut the shapes in which increments and stuff like that, that's really helpful. Like, that is the biggest advantage if you have a model sheet, that you actually know, you know, where exactly the knees are. They are under the half of that second ball. Like, you know, information like this is very, very important in making the character consistent. Not for every like test animation you need to do a huge model sheet, but for anything that you want to, you know, really feel solid, and you know, really put a lot of polish in, you kind of have to make a somewhat solid model sheet for. And especially if you do a turnaround, if you actually like animate something in 3D. Philip is asking, is it common to have the height of a character to be a whole number of head sizes? It makes a lot of calculations easier, and I feel like it's easier to remember sometimes, because, you know, you saw I did try to have a whole number of head sizes because I knew that I will have kind of weird, like, if you look at where actually her hips is, like, it's in the middle of that third head shape, but the legs are under it. You know, it gets messy very fast, and if it already is messy in like your base units, then it could happen that you have like stuff on like quarters of quarters and stuff like that. So I don't know. I try to aim for whole head sizes, but you don't have to. Like, you know, like 5.5 heads is of course you can do that. 4.5 heads, something like this. You know, if that is what looks the best, then go for it. But yeah, you know, if you draw the character with 4 heads and then you draw the character with 5 heads and you're like, nah, it's in between, then, you know, go for it. Then go for the 4.5 heads. Could you give me some advice about the way to apply and get a job like a storyboard artist? Be done 2 animatics, including a lot of aspects. Can I show you? At the moment, I don't do critiques on live streams, but I can give you some general pointers. Like, definitely making animatics is a very good way to apply. You need to apply with proof of your work. So the more you have, the better. And it could just be, that's the cool thing about animation. Like, it doesn't have to be from actual like industry projects. It could actually really be just animatics that you do for fun. I would recommend having... Wait, did you hear that? That was a loud lightning. Loud thunder. But the lightning was like... Oh my god, it's not stopping, it's still going. But it was like, you know, there was the lightning and then it was like 5 seconds later, which means that it's still like a kilometer away. How fast does sound? But yeah, so what I wanted to say is let other people look over your animatics. People who don't have anything to do with animation can tell you if they understand your animatics, if everything that has to come across comes across. And professionals should give you pointers on how to improve. Like, there are forums like the 11 Second Club forum. You can ask on Reddit. There are a lot of awesome Reddit communities. Well, specifically one, the R animation community. We sometimes get some very detailed feedback. You know, then there's also stuff like the group mentoring that we have on Animator Island. It's one of the Patreon tiers that you can join, and there was a live group mentoring session where I can have a look at your stuff. I do want to make more like critiques on in live streams, but I'm no longer opening any links that anyone sends me, because that's a very bad idea on stream live. So perfect. So we got our storytelling poses covered. Actually, we kind of need an end pose, huh? Yeah, one too many trolls and malicious links. Yeah, if you think about it, if I already start getting those, then you know it's not gonna get better. The more we live stream, the more trolls will unfortunately also join us. But I feel like so far we have a pretty nice community, which I hope will stay like this for a long time. Alrighty. Oh, and the phishing links, like, I get so many links. Like, there was this, I'm not sure how big of an issue it's still, but did any of you hear about the Linus Tech Tips hack, where they replaced like the entire channel with like a crypto scam? That was really crazy, and the way they did that, they sent someone a phishing link that would copy the login cookie, the YouTube login cookie that says that you're logged in with your YouTube account. They copied that from an employee's computer by opening a link, and I swear I've gotten emails like this. They're all like, hey, here's a proposal for a sponsorship in a Word document. Where I'm like, no, I'm not gonna open a Word document with a sponsor proposal. Like, and it was always relevant stuff. It was always like allegedly like from Toon Boom or from Adobe. So they targeted. I don't know if they targeted me specifically, but they were probably just looking for art and art channels in general, and then they made emails that look like they were from Adobe and Toon Boom and stuff like that, with a Word document about a sponsorship. Oh yeah, it happened to Sikra as well. Yeah. That channel was gone for a while. Yeah, it sounds like a volcano exploding, doesn't it? That was a really crazy thunder. Yeah, fishing. But that I got somewhat targeted fishing is really scary to me. I feel like, you know, like when you get like an email from a bank that you're not even a member of, you're like, okay. But I really had to like, oh, Adobe wants to do a sponsorship with me? Like, would be nice. I mean, I don't know about it if I would take it nowadays with, you know, all the stuff that's going on with Adobe at the moment, but I don't know. I want to feel like a big YouTuber. Big boy YouTuber. Having sponsorships and stuff. Yeah, I think we should have like a somewhat neutralish pose, but you know what? Instead of just doing something crazy new, we're just gonna trace over this one. So I'm just gonna make some room here, and I'm gonna trace over that one. We just modify it a tiny bit to get an end pose real quick that we can go back to. Yeah, just so we have somewhat of a satisfying end. So onion skin options. Where were they again? They were onion skin settings 0. That's one thing that I do like about other software, that you can just, you know, place the Is that the previous and next frame? There, you can place that in the timeline. Let's switch it back on and check. Oh, there's another thunder coming in. No, there's nothing next to the cursor. That's kinda annoying. Yeah, you have to be careful with files that are sent to you, especially Word documents and PDFs. There are some really dangerous exploits there. In general, I feel like the stuff that's been going on in the last months, like the family of a friend of mine got called with the voice of that friend. The voice of that friend was claiming like, hey, I have an accident, I need money for bail, crazy stuff like that. And it was that friend's voice. They used AI to clone the voice of my friend. And that's crazy times that we live in with AI. Okay, maybe the sneeze did wake her up a little bit. Like she's like having her eyes opened a little bit more at the end. Maybe she has a little bit of like a like a little grin. And it was in German. Like I could understand, you know, that scammers in like the US are already doing that, but like, you know, in German. Yeah, all the music you're hearing, by the way, is I think from from Filmstro, filmstro.com. It's a really cool concept where you can animate the music. They're like sliders for like different intensities. If you want to have more rhythm, more instruments, and you can animate the music with sliders. Filmstro is the name of that service. It's not free, but has very nice terms. So basically, you know, with one like membership, one like subscription membership for like either a month or a year, you have everything covered. I do have affiliate links for that one, actually, speaking of sponsors, but I don't know where they are. So I like that. I like her. Like, she's a little bit shy, very sweet kind of person. And I think that captures this. And I would actually lean the whole body back then. There we go. I shouldn't forget how far down her hair actually goes. We should especially check the sneeze pose, like where she's leaning forward, if the hair is long enough. Okay. AI is baby Skynet. Oh boy. I also think that like people severely misunderstand what AI actually is at the moment, and like, you know, the big tech companies with like AI could become sentient, where I think that's not the imminent danger that we have to face. I feel like the imminent danger that we have to face is that AI, how it already is right now, can be used for stuff like that scam, you know? And people are not prepared to actually getting called with the voice of their loved ones. Like, somebody kind of needs to tell you that that is a thing that could happen. That character, well, it's for a fun project, so it's kind of both. JK and I, we were kind of like, we realized that we hadn't animated something just for fun in a while, just like as a fun little short film project of our very own. And yeah, I started to develop a little scene with JK. He was so awesome to offer to join me in making it and giving me the position of the director for this one. So yeah, it's hopefully gonna turn into the scene of something larger at some point. There is a script and an animatic we already started as well. So yeah, we're gonna continue that. Choo. Choo. I like her. I like her vibe. That was also like a lot of work to get her to look sweet like that. Francis asked, is it okay to have about 50 layers when animating? Or it's just too much? I just want to know if I'm normal. Whatever works for you. If 50 layers work for you, then do it with 50 layers. I do recommend, if you are a person with many layers, or if you do something like, if I do rigging and I have a lot of layers, placing folders and, grouping layers and stuff like that can sometimes save you so much work later on, if that makes sense in your workflow. Like, I don't know exactly what these layers are for, but, if you have a lot of layers, group them, name them, put them in folders. But other than that, whatever works is fine. And yeah, as long as your computer can support that, that might be the other issue, right? Okay. So, there was one very important frame that I still wanted to add. I wanted to have a little overshoot before she sneezes. So let's go in, actually, in between this one and this one is where I want to place an overshoot of her end pose. So as you can see, all I'm doing right now is I'm kind of just, I have some handy dandy highlighting software here. So basically, in post-to-post animation, so far we have the first drawing that we did on frame 1, second drawing frame 2, and so on, chronological. We don't have any timing yet. And now I refine it by always going in between frames and adding stuff. That's not necessary in-betweens. We're still not at the in-between phase. So what I want to add for this one is an overshoot. An overshoot is an extreme where extremes are always the furthest point of an animation before it changes direction. Let's actually get rid of the hairline here to make really clear what we want to have here. So I'm grabbing all these frames and I'm moving them over. Can I actually draw a selection? Yes, I can. So I'm shifting those over. And now I can put in between this first one and the second one, I can put my overshoot. And it's very tempting for overshoots to, let's see, let's get rid of the magnifying glass. So it could be very tempting to just use onion skin and just look at that, just look at this future frame and, to get and sometimes that might make sense if you have like a YouTube short and you want to get like a overshoot real quick. You could just do this, animate everything, like put everything a little bit higher. But what I would recommend is to flip, because then you can make it very dynamic and, always look at like one single point, like her nose, and see if you're happy with that. But, I might want to put that over there. Is an extreme the part of the animation that has the deformation or an alteration of the character in an animation? No, not necessarily. In this case, yes, I really want to stretch her when she is like on her furthest point. I want to exaggerate that just because it's fun, but most of the time extremes are so basically an anticipation is an extreme. If I'm throwing my phone, for example, let's hope that I don't actually throw it, and I go back, this is the extreme, because I'm about to change direction. I went back, and I go towards the front. That's an extreme because I have a change in direction. When I actually throw it, my hand goes all the way there and then back. That's an overshoot. That's also an extreme. In cartoony animation, you often have fun with those. But the part where you do like the distortion and like the crazy stuff is very often on the breakdown, halfway on the way from the anticipation to the overshoot. You probably have the one where you go like, where you have like the really like long smears and stuff like that. That's where you really go crazy. It's the point before a change in direction. I think that is the precise definition. And it doesn't always need to be a release. It doesn't need to be in regard to an object that is being held. It's just before something goes in the other direction. So like, you know, if I would like start running and I would go like, I go in the other direction first. That's the anticipation, and the anticipation is an extreme. And then I go in the forward whenever a change in direction occurs. Yes. Yeah, that's correct, Philip. A lot of classical animators use the light onion skin only when doing in-betweens. That is correct. There are also some who also flip for in-betweens. But yeah, that's kind of crazy if you can do everything in flipping. Like there's this Aaron Blaze's YouTube channel, really awesome, especially if you already know about animation, because he does a lot of he just animates, and it's awesome, especially if you already know what he's doing, because his explanations like, I don't know, like he says what he's doing, but it helps if you already have a little bit of context. And he is like really flipping everything, and it's so awesome. And it's amazing how he can pull out 3D shapes on the paper. It's really crazy. Really love his stuff. And he always has like these animals that he does. So for this one, I do want to go kind of crazy with the shapes. So maybe she has her eyes closed, like one eye closed, and opens it before she goes forward. Let's maybe start with the bigger volumes first and nail them down. Oh, and actually, you know, the hair is gonna be interesting because it's still being pulled back. So, you know, everything is being pulled in the direction where it came from. Let's find her shoulders. I think her shoulders could really overshoot. No, let's orient more on the final frame. I don't know. Okay, so here. Now the question is, do we also overshoot her shoulders downwards? We could. And then they would come back up. Or we don't overshoot them. And that's often the more interesting choice. Like we overshoot everything, but we don't overshoot the shoulders. The shoulders just come down, which also makes the rest of everything pop more. Or we keep the shoulders around where they were in the beginning and then have them drop. You see that? We have them drop after the overshoot. I think that could work very well. Thank you, Francis, for subscribing. Yeah. And I think I really do wanna exaggerate her mouth. As I said, that might not be the most typical for an extreme. Oh god, that whole chin thing. We still have to do it here. Yeah, Aaron Lace, he has awesome tutorials. And as I said, like, it's really awesome if you do want to see if you know a little bit already and you do want to see the process of a Disney animator, that's really cool. Okay. Okay, her head grows a little bit too much. Need to correct that. Maybe we push the top of her head even higher. Let's try that. And that's, of course, the cool thing now of digital, you know. Couldn't do this on paper. On paper, I would have to start over again, which, you know, sometimes you might want to do that. But let's see the underside of her teeth and the underside of her tongue. And of course here we would have to show the curvature. We have to reverse the curvature of her teeth as well, so we can see the teeth from below. Just slightly. Yeah, it's taking shape. Sometimes it's a little bit like sculpting, you know, you're sculpting both the motion and the shapes. Okay. Not quite sure about that other eye. Maybe so that the contrast isn't as stark, we're gonna keep it open just a tiny bit. Okay, I really like this one. So where's the part in her hair? It's like here, isn't it? Ah, this is turning out really lively. I really like it. And we have like all this air going into her chest, so I think we still need to have some of that air here when it comes down. Yeah, I like that. Really feels like her chest is holding air. Yeah, I think it's turning out quite nicely. Okay, technically, by the way, this is an extreme as well, you know, this is the anticipation, going back and then going forward. Okay, so one very important frame is from here to there. We have to think about the breakdown. And this is one for lots of crazy stuff. The breakdowns, you can really think about how you're gonna like put some fun smears or something like that in there. So let's shift all of those over. So we have room for a new frame, and this is going to be our breakdown. Now, once again, we could use onion skin. So this is actually, as far as onion skin goes, like this is an okay time to use it because you have the start and the finish are so far away from the from either position that you could do something nice there. But the more lively result you will probably get from just going crazy with flipping. So let's think about what do we do with the mouth? Do we still have it open? Yeah, I think open is the way to go. Or do we go really into the... No, I think we have to open it wide. And as you can see, this is going to be the craziest frame of the entire animation, but because it's in the middle of everything, it's gonna look okay. And you know, this will be the fastest part of the animation, so we're not gonna see it for that long. Let's think about what to do with her shoulder. We could already throw them up, or throw one shoulder up. See how that looks. No, don't like that. And as you can see, I don't place the shoulders in the middle, so that would be like an onion skin kind of thing. If you have on one frame you have the shoulder here, on the other one you have the shoulder here. It's very tempting to just put it here, you know. But to get more interesting motions, you might want to consider not putting them in the middle. Okay, we need to clean that up a little bit. I feel like I really want to get a little bit of something that still looks like her but stretched. So let's see how we can get that. I think it's important that her hair goes over her head. And we need to respect the boundaries, I think, of her face so she still looks like herself. I think that might be better. Yeah. I like that more. I think it's turning out quite nicely, I gotta say. Could also put this in front of her face. Maybe not. If we have it behind her face later, then maybe we also already want to move that. Okay. I'm using Clip Studio Paint. Okay, wonderful. One more breakdown that I really want to have is the one from here to here. So also because I think, you know, here we had an arc that goes like this. Arcs, of course, one of the 12 principles of animation. Very, very important. But maybe we could have an arc here now going back up that's curved the other way to like have a little bit of a shyness to be like putting guards up, going into herself. So when we're pulling back, we can go the other way around. So I'm going between those two drawings and push the last one, the last one over here, add one in the middle there. And this one is more subtle, but I guess we can try again to just do it through flipping. So kind of like we need that center shape. And oh yeah, what did I say? I actually wanted to put this further down, so let's put it more here. Let's see if that is, yeah, and maybe tilt her a bit. You can see this is a very modern version of flipping involving the which is better, Clip Studio or OpenToons? At the moment I prefer Clip Studio Paint, just because of these awesome vector brushes. OpenToons is always my recommendation if you look for free software or, you know, an OpenToon's version like Tahoma 2D or something like that. That's great for getting started with animation without investing any money. It is kind of a steep learning curve. It's not like the most beginner friendly that you can do. But yeah, I do prefer Clip Studio Paint at the moment because I just feel like the way how some tools and some steps are laid out are better to my workflow. I'm not sure if that, you know, would align with everyone's workflow, but I feel, I don't know, like I feel the way how the drawings flow out of my hand, Clip Studio Paint feels a little bit more responsive with regards to vector layers. I know a lot of people who do bitmap layers in OpenToon's and are very happy with OpenToon's. So if you do use vector bitmap layers, you might want to give OpenToon's a very close look. But yeah. Yeah, I do the OpenToon's tutorials because there was a time where I was actually thinking like I would gonna do this this short animation in OpenToon's, and I currently decided against that because of some stability issues and some stability and performance with vector layers. But yeah, I don't know. I feel bad saying bad things about OpenToon's because it's such a great entry point. It's such an amazing software. It's so crazy that it is free, and it offers so many functions that much more expensive software offers. Like I would say that you know, Toon Boom Harmony, which is one of like the big industry softwares, very similar to OpenToon's. OpenToon's offers most of the functionality that you have in Toon Boom Harmony, especially in the frame-by-frame area. And, you know, OpenToon's is free, and Toon Boom Harmony costs thousands of dollars. So that's a very impressive. And you get a very powerful software for essentially free. And I'm very glad that it exists, and it's a great entry point. That's why I did the tutorials for it. What about TV Paint? I have only animated in TV Paint once for a job. And, you know, somebody who was a TV Paint pro was the animation supervisor and helping us to use the software. From what I could see, is that it's a really powerful software with really awesome brushes. I personally always end up using vector software. I prefer vector, so TV Paint is not an option for me. But if you like emulating like charcoal brushes or paint brushes, like I feel like TV Paint is the optimal option for that. Yeah, we're gonna do a nice like whip overshoot of the hair. We still gotta do that. sure I like how the bottom of the hair is. Which is better, Clip Studio or Moho or Tumbo to animate? It depends. It depends on what project you have. So personally, I never like to answer the question of which software is better, because the answer is always it depends. I switch animation software constantly, depending on the project, you know? I want to use the most effective tool for the current project. You should keep an eye open, Marco, for sale. Clip Studio Paint is frequently on sale. Okay, the shoulders I want to have really soft, just coming down. Maybe here I actually do like a more of a classic in between, already halfway down, just coming down very softly in the middle. Okay. But now you're right, we kind of still need to do something properly with the hair. So let's do an overshoot, and this time we do the lazy overshoot, where I'm gonna put a frame before the last frame, and we're just gonna trace. We're just going to trace. Where is the on skin? There we go. Alrighty. So we have her overshoot slightly to the right. And while we do that, we have all the floppy bits, the loosely attached bits. And maybe she's opening her eyes just now. Let's see how that looks. Let's see. Need to make sure that we shift all the facial features over. So the thing with Clip Studio Paint, it's also, I'm also not sure how much I would recommend Clip Studio Paint as a beginner's animation software, because it doesn't have any keyboard shortcuts set by default. So it's better if you already know from another animation software what keyboard shortcuts you will need, and then set your shortcuts, like create a new drawing, create a new layer, like all these things for animation layers, they're not set, which is kinda annoying. In the beginning I disliked it, but then I was like, hey, the cool thing is I can just set the shortcuts to everything that I'm used to from another software. But I really don't know why they decided to not set any animation shortcuts by default. Maybe because so many shortcuts are already taken by just the painting tools. Okay, let's have the collar really point behind. Okay, that doesn't work with onion skin. Okay. I really need to make sure her shoulders aren't too... too pointy. Okay, back to the onion skin. Okay, so her hair would be pressed against her head, so it couldn't, like, you know, it can only go in so much. That's kind of cute. I really like the recovery frame. I'm glad that we added this. Constantino says, I think the only modern thing made with traditional animation of the 40s was Cuphead. Yeah. Yeah, there hasn't been traditional animation in a long time. Once you start using tablets, it's hard to look back. In the romantic way, it's possible, but in practicality, it's easier to draw on a pen tablet. Yeah. It's kind of like... the feel on paper is so unique. Like, just a pencil on paper is such a nice feeling. But all the cool stuff that you have in your animation software makes animation so much quicker. Okay. You know what? Let's actually time this. We didn't do that last time with the mushroom guy, so I'm glad we are getting to that here. So how do we get from here to there? We didn't draw the breakdown for this one yet. We went straight to the overshoot. So if we start planning our timing with timing charts, I would recommend to do that in an animation folder above everything else. So let's add one on top and start with a timing chart. And we're gonna have a look at how we get from here to the overshoot. Let's actually draw the bottom in real quick. Okay, so how do we get from here to there? I would say we don't do much. We go from frame Actually, it shouldn't start on frame 1. Let's hold it till frame 5. So the animation actually starts at frame 5. And then let's see. I do want to tell an ease. And, you know, there's several ways to create an ease. There's like the halving method where you halve the distances again and again. And then you have spacings that get bigger and bigger and bigger. And this will give you the impression of an acceleration. And the smallest possible way to do that, to tell that the thing is accelerating, is a favoring. So this frame indicates that we draw an ease frame very close to this first frame. Then we're going to have a breakdown to really create an arc. You know, without a breakdown, you don't, like if we have a ball here, if we don't put one here, if we don't have a breakdown, then we don't know that there was an arc, because, you know, we're just going from here to there. The whole thing will look really flat. If we really want the curve to be felt, we need that breakdown. So we're gonna have that, and I want to ease into the overshoot. So this gives us our timing, which is really cool. So this is 7 if we're animating on 2s, meaning that we show every drawing for 2 frames. So we have 7, 9 would be the breakdown, 11 would be the next one, and so the end would be 13. And 13 is one that we've already drawn. We know that we want to hold the whole thing till we want to hold the whole drawing till 5. So here we are at 5. This is where our motion starts, and this one is going to be on 13. So one thing that I like to do to mark that our animation is starting would be to just put in an empty frame. So our motion starts at frame 5. Frame 5 is supposed to be this drawing. Frame 7 is the first one where we have the ease. So this would be the one where I just insert an empty frame. So I would create a new animation cell, and our animation would just go blank here. Oh, we didn't put the timing chart on the timing chart layer. It's actually where it needs to go. Please merge these. So. All right, so at 13 we have the up position of the sneeze, the extreme. The extreme is an overshoot. So let's start a new timing chart. Once we reach that frame 13, a new timing chart is going to start. So we're putting in a new animation cell. And this timing chart goes from here to there, from the extreme down to the settled key pose. And this one, we don't need an arc because, you know, this animation is going straight down. I want this to be relatively quickly. So I think our timing chart would be sufficient to say that we just need a favoring, no breakdown, and another favoring. If this is 13, this is 15, 17, 19 is the settle. So we're gonna put that frame that we already have on 19 right here. And then we're going to hold that for a while. I would hold it to like 33. It's just a guess. and then at 33 we would start a new motion that goes very quickly and has the breakdown that we already did. So now we're getting the motion from here, from the key pose to over the breakdown to that one. How are we going to do that? We're going to create a new timing chart at 33. This is where our motion starts. Let's put in a new vector layer here. At 33. There we go. And this time we're going from 33, and the motion starts very quickly. So I think I just want to have a favoring to kind of start a little bit soft. Then we have that insane breakdown that we already drew. And then I want to have a classic ease, meaning that I halve this and I halve this again. And I think that should be it. I think that's enough. We don't need to ease it more, I think. So we have 35, 37 is our awesome frame that we already drew. The breakdown. And then we got 39, 41, 43 is our end frame. So let's place the frames that we already have, which is the breakdown on 37. Breakdown on 37. And the end one on 43, which is where it already is. So that's good. And then we have another hold. And holds I like to feel by just playing it. So I put these drawings out of the way, the rest of the drawings that we have, and I'm just playing it. So I'm gonna play it. And I'm just trying to feel when I want to go back from this pose. Let's say around 59. So 59 would be the start of our motion back. And we're going to the overshoot. We are going to the overshoot. Over this breakdown to the overshoot. Okay, so let's place a new timing chart on 59. New animation cell. There we go. We got 59 and let's do one halving and another halving, and let's flip into the upper motion with so it's accelerating and then it's quicker hitting the overshoot. Let's just try that and see how it looks. So this will be 61, 63, 65, 67, 69. There we go. So 65 is that breakdown that we have here. And then we have 69. And how do we get to the last one? Well, let's start again a timing chart at 69. The last frame of the previous timing chart is often the first frame of the next one. So, new animation cell. How do we get her down? Again, I think I would just do favorings. So 69, 71, 73, 75. 75. There we go. Okay. Now we can play this and see if our estimate was correct. It's maybe even a little bit on the slow side, but I think I like it. I think I want to shorten the time that we come back. Instead of on 59, I think I want to shift all of these over to, let's try 53. And this is really annoying because now all our timing charts are no longer correct. So let's correct them real quick. So this would be 53. 53. 55, 57, 59, 61, 63. And this one would start at 63. Maybe I should have checked the timing first if I actually like it. 65, 67, 69. Yeah, that's better. Very cute. I like it. And then basically all you have to do now for the in-betweens is follow that timing chart, you know? And there are basically two types of in-betweens that we have. We have these favorings. And how do we get a favoring? Well, we need to go to that frame, 7. And the timing chart tells us 7 is a favoring of 5, which means all of the lines are very close to 5, just going a little bit in the direction of 13. So let's go to 7, switch on onion skin. Where is my settings? Onion skin, settings, animation. Enable onion skin settings. There we go. So, if we look, we are on 7. We can look at our timing chart. Timing chart says this is a favoring of the previous frame. So all we have to do is draw a line very close to the previous frame, you know? And this is the part where you can put on a podcast and just do your time. You know, there are some pitfalls in in-betweens if it is if there is like a lot of perspective, then you can't completely switch off your brain because you would still have to do some thinking. But basically, favoring is kinda easy peasy. So actually favoring for the hair is interesting. So I would probably take this point, shift it over to here, you know? Like this one, this curve, I would shift over to here. But because the hair is lagging behind, it's basically still all pointing in the direction that it came from. So, you know, this point might have shifted, but the hair is kinda all still where it was before. It gets slowly dragged back with a delay. You see that? So the parts that are attached to the head, they go over, but everything else is still kind of where it is before. Same thing with the end of the collar. So the shoulder's already moving in that direction. There we go. But most things are still where they used to be. And now we have constructed our first in between. And you know, from time to time you want to switch off onion skin and check your animation. Okay. And you know, every in between we add will make our animation look more smooth. So this is the first kind of in-between, a favoring. You know, we either favor the previous or the next frame by drawing very close to it. And the other kind is here. Here we can see one. So oftentimes in timing charts, you would indicate that this is exactly the half, this is exactly the half, and this is exactly half. This up here is not an exact half, so it doesn't have one of these arcs, one of these curves indicating that this is a favoring. But 39 is interesting. Because of that bow, we know that 39 is exactly in the middle between 37 and 43. And that's really cool, because now we can just go to 39, create a new drawing there. Oops, this one. And then we can go exactly in the middle. So the nose would be here. The mouth, well, we can kind of think about what we want to do with the mouth, but maybe we push it over a little bit. But you know, you can still be creative in in-betweens. You can still do crazy stuff in in-betweens if you want to. But see, the overall shape of the head will now be in the middle. And of course the hair will be dragged all the way back still, because you know, this is still the fastest, one of the fastest parts of the motion. So we'll have something like this. The shoulders, they could be exactly in the middle. You know, you have this shoulder being dragged up. The collar is here if you go exactly in the middle. The shoulder is, the other shoulder is here. And the eyes are kind of like not changed. Okay. So let's see how that looks. Okay, and this way we can just work our way through our animations. Basically, finding half the distances between frames and yeah, and sometimes we might realize that, especially maybe here with the sneeze, maybe we don't need that many sections. Maybe we kick out 41 because that's too slow for us. We could do that. So let's just shift that over, and then maybe that's more to our liking. We could also, I think I wouldn't go faster. If you want to go faster, we could put it on once. That's always an option too, that the stuff that you already have on twos might work on once if you want it to be faster. But yeah, so the timing charts, the advantage is that you're not, completely in the dark. You're not completely guessing. You have some sort of orientation. And I think, just in this choppy state, I think it's already coming together quite well. All right. If you like the way how I talk about animation, you might want to consider joining our Patreon. You can support us over there. You can donate a little bit every single month. That helps me to make more live streams. And hopefully also tutorials more in the future. We kind of had a little bit of a break there because there's so much other stuff to do. But yeah, every cent that you donate over there on Patreon, I invest back in the channel. Try to buy me some time, quite literally, to do more stuff over here on YouTube and on Twitch. And then there is also the special tier, the group mentoring tier. And the cool thing about the group mentoring tier is we have an exclusive live video call every single month where you and the other people from the group mentoring can show whatever you're currently working on. That could be an animation, that could be a character design, or just an idea for something that you want to animate, or the story for a film. And I will give you my advice. If it's animation, I'm drawing over it, and I'm try to give you tips and tricks and advice on how to make it even better. So yeah, that's always an option if you want to support us and get much better at animation, and have some sort of a commitment. If you need to show something every month for the group mentoring, it will help you to have a goal to work towards every single month. Yes, so with that being said, I think this is the end of our live stream for today. I'm pretty tired now, but I think it was definitely worth it. We have a very, very good result here. Let's play it again. Very nice. I think it turned out really cute. Wonderful. There is a little bit of a discussion going on about the accurate colors. Any thoughts on color accurate monitors? Did you use them for animation or cell colors? Not yet. The most expensive monitor I have is my wife edits a lot of, my partner, she does a lot of photography, and occasionally I want to have video with correct colors. So the most expensive monitor we have is one that has like 90 something % Adobe RGB, and I really like it. I don't bother with like actual color calibration. You know, they're like color calibration tools like the spider that you put on your monitor and that measures the room light and makes the colors very accurate. I don't know much about that, so we're not doing that. We just have like whenever I shop for monitors, I look at like Adobe RGB color specs and see that it has like 90 something %, and then I get the monitor with the highest coverage of the Adobe RGB color space. And then in Windows, you need to definitely install the color profile. You know, it doesn't help you if you have a good monitor and you don't install the color profile. So that's an important thing to Google. If you bought an expensive monitor, definitely use the color space, color profile. And then it's also kind of tricky to set up the apps to actually use that color space. And I actually don't know how good, how accurate the color management in like OpenTunes actually is. I don't think they put a lot of focus, I guess, on color profiles. But in like Photoshop and After Effects, I feel like you can work with accurate colors. Marco's asking about smear frames. Yes. So here, the breakdown is usually the best place for a smear frame. So, you know, you can kind of see that in the hair. But yeah, doing the breakdown, the fastest point of your motion, the middle of your motion, you might want to experiment with having some awesome smear frames. Wonderful. I think that's it for today. Thank you all so very much for joining. I really appreciate all your wonderful input and the conversations in the chat. It was a pleasure today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you could learn a thing or two. I'm very happy with the result. I just have to play it again. And yeah, I think we did an awesome sneeze animation here. Timing could maybe be, you know, we could shave an Eve's frame here and there, but I think, yeah, this is absolutely going in the right direction. Yeah, hope you're having a fantastic evening, day, whatever it is in your part of the world. Keep on animating, keep on working on your projects. Even just half an hour every day or every other day or every once a week can make a difference. Do your passion projects, work on things that are fun to you. Yeah, good luck with working on these projects and shaping your skills. See you soon, I hope. Bye bye.